For thousands of years, humanity has tried to decipher the great Enigma. How does reality come into being? From the oldest temples to the most sophisticated laboratories, human beings have pursued the same thing. The secret formula that turns the invisible into the visible. Some called it faith, others called it energy. But the wise went further. They called it metaphysical substance. And no, we're not talking about something you can weigh, measure, or keep in a jar. It's not a magic formula either, one of those that promise results in 7 days. It's something deeper, it's a frequency. A living matrix that vibrates beneath what your eyes can see. A formless substance, waiting for your consciousness to give it direction. A silent intelligence that responds with an almost unsettling precision to the quality of your thoughts, to your emotions and your words. But here's the key point. It doesn't respond to what you say you want, it responds to what you really are. And that changes everything. Have you ever wondered why there are people who seem to manifest their goals with suspicious ease, while others wear themselves out, get frustrated, and still don't make any progress? Is it luck? Destiny? No, it's alignment. Alignment with that invisible substance that holds reality together. It's understanding that there's a law operating beyond conventional logic, the law of vibration, the law of inner certainty, the law of faith understood not as naive belief, but as creative substance. In this video, we are going to unveil one of the most closely guarded secrets of esoteric knowledge, the metaphysical substance that allows the improbable to become inevitable. We are going to delve into a powerful idea. Reality is not born from forced effort. It is born from resonance. When a coherent thought merges with an intense emotion and is sustained with clear intention, it's not positivity. It's a command, a direct instruction to the invisible field that sustains your existence. We will talk about faith, but not as a religious act, rather as a vibrational matrix. About imagination, not as escapist fantasy, but as the portal that opens up other possibilities of reality. About the word, not as a simple word, but as a code. And about the present, not as a spiritual cliche, but as the only point where something can truly be transformed. This knowledge didn't appear yesterday in a motivational podcast. It has ancient roots in metaphysical thought, in scriptures interpreted symbolically, in traditions that understood the universe as a vibrational system long before science began to suspect it. And if you're here listening to this, it's not a coincidence. You aren't here by accident. A part of you recognizes this truth, because deep down you always knew it. You're not just a spectator, you're a creator. Substance responds to your consciousness just as water takes the shape of the container that holds it. Get ready, because what you're about to integrate is that you're not just a spectator, you're a creator. And deep down you knew it. Humanity sensed that there was something beyond the visible. You are not just a spectator, but a creator. And in the Sumerian tablets, in the sutras of Vedic India, even in the esoteric texts of early Christianity, the idea was repeated over and over again. Matter is just the shadow of something deeper. Some called that reality Akasha. Medieval alchemists called it prima materia. Christian mystics understood it as divine substance. Different names, the same essence, an immaterial vibrational substance, preceding everything you consider real today. You can't touch it, but you can feel it. You can't see it, but you can perceive it. It's like the silence that holds the music, like the space that allows something to exist. The ancients called it ether, not the physical concept from the 19th century, but a spiritual ocean of pure possibility. Its function was always the same, to be the vessel of human desire, the matrix where manifestation is conceived. In the tradition of Kabbalah, it is related to the Ein Sof, the unmanifested aspect of the divine, from which emerge in creation. In the thought of the Tao Te Ching, it would be the unnameable Tao, before dividing into yin and yang. In Christian Gnosis, it is the Logos before becoming flesh. Same principle, different cultures, same intuition. There is something before form. And it was with the rise of spiritual metaphysics in the 20th century, especially with the New Thought movement, that this began. Understanding regained strength, as if humanity was ready to remember it once again. When this understanding began to be translated into modern language, figures like Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Sheen, and Emmett Fox revisited the teachings of Jesus from a symbolic and vibrational perspective. For them, the so-called miracles were not supernatural acts. They were flawless demonstrations of a spiritual law working without interference. Jesus did not come to break any law. He came to show how
opera cuando se comprende desde una conciencia expandida. Y aquí entra una frase que,
if you understand it well, it blows your mind. In the Epistle to the Hebrews 11:1 it reads, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Most people have repeated it without stopping to think, but in the original Greek, the word for substance is hypostasis, and it doesn't mean matter. It means invisible foundation. Essential foundation is the vibrational support upon which form and evidence later appear. It doesn't speak of external proof, it speaks of inner certainty, of a spiritual vision that precedes physical sight. This is not emotional religion, it's not naive hope, it's a vibrational certainty capable of altering the very structure of reality. Faith in this context is substance, an invisible matrix that responds not to what you ask for, but to what you assume as true. An idea that runs through religions, philosophies, and deep esoteric traditions. Creation does not begin in the physical, it begins in the invisible, and you are the architect. Now that we understand that there is a matrix prior to form, an immaterial substance that precedes the visible, the important question arises: how do we interact with it? Here we enter into one of the most powerful secrets of practical esotericism. Metaphysical substance is not touched with the hands, it is shaped with consciousness. Imagine this. You are standing before an infinite ocean of golden mist. It has no shape, no limits, it doesn't come with an instruction manual, but it is alive, it vibrates. That mist is the substance, and it is extremely sensitive. It doesn't obey superficial wishes. It doesn't react to pretty phrases repeated in front of the mirror. It responds to the essential vibration you emit, to what you have truly accepted as truth in the deepest part of your being. Here comes the most misunderstood concept of all. Faith, not the faith that waits, not the one that begs, not the one that doubts and then tries to convince itself with motivational phrases. We're talking about faith as hypostasis, as vibrational substance, a silent certainty that doesn't need proof to stand, that doesn't need to see in order to know. That faith is the invisible mold that gives shape to substance. When you have real, deep, stable faith, without cracks, you're shaping that invisible substance with the form of what you've already assumed as reality. And here is the huge difference. It's not about believing that it will happen. It's about assuming that it's already happening. Faith doesn't push something into the future. It collapses time. It brings the future into the present. It makes you vibrate now as if what you desire is already integrated. And when that happens, the substance responds. No dramatic delays, no cosmic excuses. Have you noticed something curious? We manifest more easily what we take for granted. You don't doubt that the sun will rise tomorrow. You don't make affirmations for the sun to rise. You don't light candles just in case. Your certainty creates order. Now imagine having that same level of certainty about your goals. The substance would begin to reorganize itself around that vibration, like iron filings around an invisible magnet. This is where many stumble. They confuse desire with faith. Desiring isn't the same as assuming. In fact, most people desire from a place of lack, from a sense of separation, from desperation disguised as optimism. And the substance does not respond to what you declare. It responds to the predominant emotion. If you desire from a place of I wish, from a maybe someday, from a perhaps, what you're really communicating is, this isn't real for me yet. And the substance simply reflects that. I'm missing this. That's far from me. And the obedient substance responds understood, so it will be. It doesn't punish you. It doesn't judge you. It reflects you. If you vibrate with a sense of absence, it returns absence. If you vibrate with a sense of separation, it maintains that separation. But when you assume it already is, when you feel it in your body, when you visualize it with almost uncomfortable clarity, when you give thanks before having proof, something changes. The substance starts to organize itself, the form begins to take shape, and the miracle stops being an extraordinary event. It becomes the logical consequence of an aligned consciousness. That is where true human power lies. To create not from struggle, but from coherence. Deep spiritual work is not a fight against what you don't have. It is a communion with what already is, even if you don't see it yet. The soul doesn't scream, doesn't beg, doesn't despair. The soul recognizes, declares, faces reality as something already its own. And when it does, the substance responds. It always responds. Now comes the question. How do you live as if what you desire is already real when you still can't see it with your own eyes? This is where conscious creators are separated from chronic dreamers. Visualizing is easy. To fully embody that desire with total coherence before it physically exists, that's another story. This is the sacred paradox. Only when you can feel the emotion of achievement without needing the achievement. Why? Because the universe doesn't understand words. It understands frequency. The spiritual world operates by resonance, like attracts like. And if you're vibrating with, I still don't have it, it doesn't matter how many affirmations you repeat, how many candles you light, or how many rituals you post on Instagram. You're emitting scarcity. But if you manage to generate the emotion of it already is, even without external evidence, that vibration becomes a silent magnet. You don't ask for the miracle. You become the miracle. And that requires a radical shift in perspective. We were trained to react. We laugh when something good happens. We feel safe when the money comes in. We love when the other person responds. The esoteric path works the other way around. First you feel, then you see. Because the soul doesn't need proof, because it is the source of certainty. Here's where it gets fascinating. The modern world has supercharged.
Hemisferio izquierdo, lógica, análisis, control, listas, cálculos. Pero la imaginación creadora es
visualizes, feels, and embodies the invisible, belongs to the right hemisphere, intuitive, symbolic, emotional. When Jesus says in the Gospel of John, cast the net on the right side of the boat and you will find, he's not just talking about fishing, he's talking about perception. Casting the net to the right means letting go of excessive control, releasing the obsession with forcing results, allowing the creative mind to guide the experience. It's an act of trust, a conscious surrender, and only from that vibrational surrender do they sense it. Substance flows, like water that effortlessly finds its course. But pay attention, this process requires internal coherence. You can't say I'm abundant while thinking this doesn't work, feeling fear, and acting from a place of lack. That's like broadcasting on two opposite frequencies at the same time. The signal gets distorted. The substance doesn't respond to isolated phrases. It responds to the dominant pattern. And there's something even more subtle but essential: absolute presence. The substance can only act in the now. The past is condensed memory. The future is abstraction. But the present is the living matrix, where the eternal becomes form. That's why every desire must be embraced now, not tomorrow, not when something happens, now. As if it were already happening, as if the timeline where you already have it were merging with you, because on a deep level it already is. When you reach that vibrational fusion, without tension, without chasing, without that anxiety disguised as patience, you enter the flow. You no longer force life. You no longer negotiate with the universe. You no longer doubt. Every 5 minutes you become a channel, a bridge, the creative word. And then reality responds as the shadow follows the body, not because you forced it, but because you stopped being separate from it. Understanding that there is a metaphysical substance sensitive to your consciousness is powerful, but living according to that truth, that is mastery. This is not about accumulating mystical concepts to sound interesting in deep conversations. It's about becoming a clean, stable, and coherent vessel, capable of sustaining the creative flow. First key: protect your internal atmosphere like a priest protects his altar. Your mind, your body, your heart. That is the temple. You can't sustain a high frequency if inside you're full of resentment or guilt or constant self-attack. The substance is sensitive. It doesn't settle where there's constant noise. It moves where there's space. That's why forgiveness isn't emotional weakness. It's energetic cleansing. To forgive is to remove the stones that block the river. Second key: make gratitude a state, not a reaction. Most people give thanks after receiving, but the conscious creator gives thanks beforehand. Because gratitude is not spiritual courtesy, it's a frequency of receptivity. If you can give thanks for something you still can't see, it's because you've already accepted it as real, and if you've accepted it, it's already in motion. That's how the law works. Third key: spend at least 5 minutes a day living in your desired reality. Not from anxiety, not from a let's see if it works mindset. Sit down, breathe, close your eyes. Don't imagine it as a future possibility. Imagine it as a memory, as if you have already lived it. Feel the details, the sounds, the texture of the moment. Allow your body to experience that emotion, because what you desire is not unreal. It's on another frequency, and you bring it here when you feel it with consistency and purity. However, if you made it this far, you're not a spectator, you're a participant. Most people quit when the message starts to demand responsibility. You don't. Comment "I don't chase."
Me alineo. Y deja claro.
Especially for you, who will no longer vibrate from a place of lack. Fourth key: stop talking about what you don't want. Every word you say is a decree. When you say, "I don't have money, everything is always hard for me, nobody understands me," you're not venting. You are sculpting your own vibrational prison. The word is an invisible chisel. Use it to affirm what you choose to embody, not to reinforce what you fear. Speak with intensity, out of inertia. Fifth and final key: rest in certainty. Don't watch over the process as if you suspect the universe is going to let you down. The seed doesn't need to be dug up every day to check if it's sprouting. It needs fertile soil, water, and time. The substance works the same way if you keep your vibration aligned. If you maintain coherence and presence, the invisible will take shape, not because you forced it, but because you stopped resisting. Remember this. It's not about doing more. It's about being more, being presence, being a channel, being the meeting point between the invisible and the visible. From there, everything is possible. What you call impossible today, the universe calls not yet brought into vibration. In a cosmos governed by resonance, impossibility does not exist. There are states of consciousness that once assumed, unembodied frequencies, potentials waiting for someone to recognize them from stillness and certainty. We have moved through an invisible map, a journey towards something that cannot be seen, but that organizes everything. The metaphysical substance. That vibrational matrix that responds with absolute precision to your internal state, to your embodied faith, to your emotional coherence, to your thought, to your conscious presence. It doesn't argue. You don't analyze whether you deserve what you ask for. You don't check if it's logical. It reflects. That's where the true responsibility lies. Your reality is not punishment. It's not luck. It's not a cosmic conspiracy. It's a mirror. But it's not a mirror of what you say you want, but of what you assume in silence, of what you believe when no one is listening, of what you imagine when you let your guard down. It's you extended in strength, in circumstances, in the form of people, in the form of experiences. Everything starts inside, always inside, and that's the best news, because if everything is born there, everything can be transformed there. You don't need to move mountains. You don't need to convince the world. You don't need someone to come and rescue you. The miracle doesn't come when you beg. It comes when you remember who you are, when you remember the power contained within your I am. Yours is the constant struggle with exhausting effort, with the narrative of scarcity. You begin to vibrate as if it already is. You recall what you want to embody. Then the substance reorganizes. The form, the environment synchronizes. Not by whimsical magic, but because you press the key, the right key on the piano of creation. And what seemed impossible happens without noise, without spectacle, without unnecessary drama, as if it had always been waiting for that moment of coherence. This isn't just a nice phrase to highlight. It's not fleeting motivation, it's a law. It works, whether you're aware of it or not. And the more you awaken, the more precise your power becomes. You see results faster. You understand more clearly that your task is not to chase what you desire, but to become the space capable of holding it. So from this moment on, do something different. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes for a moment and declare inwardly or with conviction, I am the channel through which the invisible takes form. Because you are, you always have been. Now the choice is simple. Are you going to live from fear or from the memory of your power? For the one who awakens, the possible ceases to exist.